Who are these policymakers? Many of their faces are familiar. NBC's Tom Brokaw, CBS's Dan Rather, ABC's Barbara Walters, Jim Lehrer of PBS, William F. Buckley of National Review, media mogul Rupert Murdoch, owner of the giant multifaceted News Corporation. These media heavyweights, and many others like them, are members of the CFR. Powerful corporations are also invited to become members. At the close of the 20th century, CFR influence presided over far-reaching consolidations of media control. In 1995, CFR members Michael Eisner of Disney and ABC's Thomas Murphy merged their media empires. Soon after the merger, the Disney-ABC empire becomes a CFR corporate member. In the year 2000, the world's largest internet service provider, America Online, joins forces with Time Warner, one of the world's largest news organizations. The CEOs favoring the move are CNN's Thomas Johnson and Time Warner's Gerald Levin, both CFR members. Once again, another media giant is created under the shadow of CFR influence. Today, an elite handful of individuals define the agendas that are supported by the empire of establishment news.
This is a public service announcement. Red alert. Red alert. All 6 media corporations, Time Warner, Disney, Viacom, News Corporation, CBS Corporation, and Comcast, have one thing in common. The executives who run them belong to an international crime syndicate whose American branch is the Council on Foreign Relations. The CFR was founded in 1921 by David Rockefeller, the son of the Rockefeller banking and oil dynasty. Carroll Quigley, mentor to Bill Clinton, said in his book Tragedy and Hope, the CFR is the American branch of a society which originated in England and which believes that national boundaries should be obliterated and a one-world rule established. Although media seems to be biased, either being conservative or Democrat, the men who own these media corporations care nothing about these political parties. The job of these corporations is to keep the people divided on social issues while telling the masses of people globalization, a one-world order, and illegal foreign wars of aggression are all necessary and for your benefit. Time Warner CEO Jeffrey Bukes, CFR member. John S. Chen, Board of Director of the Walt Disney Company, CFR member. George Soros, financier of Media Matters, CFR member. Rupert Murdoch, CEO of News Corp, CFR member. Leslie Stahl, co-editor of 60 Minutes, CFR member. Brian Williams, NBC anchor, CFR member. Be sure to call the Satanic Council on Foreign Relations and verify what has just been told to you.
Among CFR's most renowned members are David Rockefeller, Henry Kissinger, Bill Clinton, former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, Hungarian-American billionaire George Soros, Supreme Court Judge Stephen Breyer, Low CBS Network's President Lawrence A. Tisch, former U.S. Secretary of State General Colin Powell, General Electric's former chairman and CEO Jack Welch, current U.S. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, W. Thomas Johnson, President of CNN, and Katharine Graham, President of the Washington Post, Newsweek, International Herald Tribune Group. That's not to mention Alan Welsh Dulles, founding father of the CIA, and banker Paul Moritz Warburg, who was born in Germany and emigrated to the United States, where in 1913 he drew up and promoted the legislation that would create the Federal Reserve Bank. This is the American Central Bank, whose capital is not public, as would normally be expected, but is instead in the hands of private banks. Both the IMF and the World Bank have come in for some heavy criticism over many years for their lousy management of world crises, when instead of acting like last resort moneylenders, as their mission states, they became involved in dictating the macroeconomic policies of deeply indebted nations. drowning them in more and more debt. This policy had catastrophic results for countries such as Brazil, Argentina, Turkey, and Mexico. Joseph Stiglitz, Nobel laureate for economics, has repeatedly attacked the performance of the fund, suggesting that it was the true cause of many of the aforementioned crises. This cannot be brushed off as hearsay, since Stiglitz was chief economist and senior vice president of the World Bank from 1997 to 2000. In other words, an insider.
It came about because the bankers, this has been a fight throughout history. I mean, Andrew Jackson fought the fight, Thomas Jefferson fought the fight. You know, the bankers have always wanted to control the country because they're very clever and very smart people. And they knew that if they could ever get the government to give them the right to issue the money, they would control the government. They would control the laws of the nation. That's why even today, you look at the immigration laws. You look what's happening with immigration in America. Why is it happening? On one hand, people say we've had this 9/11 attack, and we have to get ID cards for people, RFID chips. Everybody has to be identified. They have to go to the airport. They have to be searched. Right. Everything is, we got security's foremost in everybody's mind, right? But on the other hand, I know if I were the president and 9/11 came, the first thing I would do was shut off the borders so nobody can come in there. So on one hand, they're telling Americans they have to be controlled with ID cards and RFID chips and wanting to chip people. And on the other hand, they're letting everybody come into the border. Terrorists, whoever wants to come in, can just walk over the border and come into the country. So you know it's a lie. It's not about terrorism. It's about the banks controlling the country and the world, working together. This is about the bankers wanting a one world government without borders. That's why everybody's able to come through the borders. It's not about security at all. And so the situation we're facing today is we have a government that's controlled by the Federal Reserve System, and the Federal Reserve System has this appearance of credibility, and Alan Greenspan's the greatest guy in the world, and now Bernanke, you know, and all these guys, oh, the Federal Reserve, you got to have the Federal Reserve. But in reality, the Federal Reserve is part of the Communist Manifesto. They talk about America having, being a capitalistic society, you know, but yet you have a central bank that makes all the decisions. That's not capitalism. No, it's a fraud. It's a lie. They deceive the people, and they put out all this spin, all this press. You know, the Federal Reserve is the greatest thing in the world, and they're going to protect us, and they're going to make sure there's no more depressions in this country. What they've done is destroy the currency of this country, and they've taken all our gold while destroying the currency. And at some point, they're going to probably pull the plug and create the Great Depression. You know.
And we're talking
you have to get rid of corporate America. You have to get rid of the powers that they have. You have to greatly control every transaction and what's going on there. And basically, you have to make them impotent. Because as long as they have the power, they're going to continue to exploit and manipulate the working class. All the cops are, they're just workers for the 1%, and they don't even realize they're being exploited.
What kind of relationship do you have with the cops? Or do they see you as being one of them, or
they're trying to get me arrested?
They're trying to get you
arrested.
And
I may disappear. Okay, but as soon as I'm not going to go to prison. But as soon as I'm let out of jail, I'll be right back here, and they'll have to arrest me again.
And is it happened to all of us?
To be allowed to join the select 4,200 members the CFR has today, it is mandatory to be American, or to be about to obtain American citizenship. The council is loaded with top executives of financial institutions, powerful industry leaders, and mass media executives. Academics and scholars, high-ranking military personnel, politicians, public officers, deans of universities, and research centers are also welcome. The idea of a world dominated by private corporations, led by the CFR, might sound nonsensical. These corporations have a joint turnover that is almost twice the GDP of the United States, and employ more than 25 million people in the United States alone. Their power is surely already strong enough to twist some political arms worldwide.